We place way too much importance on always feeling good. In fact, some people almost make this like their lifelong goal to feel good most of the time, to be happy most of the time. But that's not really realistic because we as human beings are emotional creatures, and there really are only like a small portion of emotions that most people would consider good. That means the other ones are either bad or they're like neutral, they're in between the two. So, knowing that, it's kind of difficult to feel good all the time. In fact, I would say it's impossible. Like, that's not the only way you could probably do that is if you were constantly delusional and somehow forcing yourself to feel happy, to think good things, to kind of lie to yourself about your reality. And even then, that would require so much mental effort to put into practice. I don't know if anyone could even do it because you just constantly be lying to yourself. Like, how are you going to feel good when certain bad things happen? Like, let's say you lose a loved one, or you lose a pet, or just, I don't know, something happens that makes you lose a lot of money and puts you in a bad financial situation. Like, there's so many things that can trip us up in life, and I just don't believe it's possible to remain feeling good all the time. So we shouldn't make that our goal. It's too unrealistic. What I believe we should aim for instead is to feel content most of the time. In my opinion, contentment is more powerful than feeling happy because when you're content, all that pretty much means is you're comfortable existing, being in the present moment, where you don't really have any complaints, but you're not feeling amazing either. You're just kind of there, existing, taking things in as a human being on planet Earth in the here and now. I think that's way more powerful because that's kind of the way things are for animals most of the time, right? Like, they feel emotions. So to any of you who believes that animals don't feel emotions, you just need to get around them more because they certainly do. And I would wager, for the most part, animals are in that place of contentment. That's why we look at them and we're jealous of them because they seem to just be comfortable living their lives, whereas us humans are constantly thinking ourselves into oblivion and buying into these unhelpful trap mindsets of always wanting to be happy, so we end up making ourselves depressed because of it all. Whereas you look at animals and they're just chilling, they're just existing, doing their thing, like acting out their instincts, and that's it. Like, a lot of humans would look at animals and think they're happy doing that when they're just content. So we should aspire for that contentment as well. In fact, I would even say that's probably what a lot of spiritual practices shoot for. When people meditate often, they end up achieving that. They become content most of the time. Like, think about the Tibetan monks. I don't believe they're happy all the time or even feeling good all the time. They're just content, where you're in between the two, where you're just comfortable existing in the present moment. That's what they meditate for. Like, they're not trying to constantly be happy because they understand that's not realistic either. Like, I just don't get why so many cultures, maybe it isn't even a cultural thing, but it seems like a lot of people want to be happy all the time. And that goal causes far more damage than just aiming to be content all the time, because that's actually achievable and it's not going to trip you up at all. So I really do believe we should all aim to be content more, and you literally can get there by, meditating more, just being comfortable existing in the present moment. And that usually requires meditation, so you can actually get into that zone where your thoughts aren't leading you astray, where you're able to just focus on what's in front of you and to just exist. Like, that's usually what it means to be present in the moment. It means you're just looking around you, taking things in the here and now. Like, if, for instance, me being present right now and being me just focusing on my phone, which I'm speaking to right now to talk to you guys, or like looking at the various items in my room, taking it all in, not really thinking about anything, just more so experiencing it all. That's what we should aim to do more often. Being able to just look at a sunset and just take it all in, not be thinking about what groceries you need to buy to that night or the next day, or thinking about why that person didn't respond to your text message, or thinking about work or whatever. Just shutting down the thoughts and just taking things in. That's what we should be working towards, because that's incredibly fulfilling. It's just being comfortable existing. And I know so often we make it seem like that would be a bad thing because, oh, you need to be productive 24/7. No, fuck that. If you're aiming to be productive all the time, you're not going to enjoy being here because there's no fun in that. If you're constantly acting like a worker ant, always having to be doing crap to keep the colony alive, you're never going to have fun. You're never going to enjoy this experience. So don't aim to be productive 24/7 unless you're like Gary Vaynerchuk and your goal is to own a freaking sports company, so you need to work your whole life to get there. And I don't even know if he'll truly be happy once he does it, but he's like some rare breed. Most people should not aspire to be like him. I don't look at his lifestyle with any jealousy whatsoever. So yeah, you just need to figure out what things work for you. Maybe some of you do actually enjoy working all the time, but I certainly don't. In fact, my goal is to work less, and my goal is to make my own business so I can work for myself, because then it'll be far more meaningful to me than working for other people. But really, we all should just stop trying to be happy all the time, trying to feel good all the time, trying to use drugs and other vices to escape our lesser feelings, like the stuff we would label as bad, because it's going to happen from time to time where of course you're not going to feel so great, and there's no reason to run away from those emotions, to try to escape them. Just allow yourself to feel them. They go away. In fact, the more you work on being able to feel content most of the time, you'll be able to feel those bad emotions without letting them knock you off course. Like, you can just sit there being present in the moment, observing your surroundings while feeling horrible inside because you're allowing yourself to feel, sometimes we feel sad or depressed or even a bit frustrated at life. That's okay. You don't need to act on that. You don't need to try to avoid it by taking drugs, smoking weed or cigarettes, or drinking alcohol, or whatever other unhealthy habits people buy into. Instead, just give yourself permission to feel that for a bit, and then focus on just being present in the moment, on being present with yourself and your emotions, and just being. Really, that's all we should aim to do. I mean, I wanted to make this video because I was trying to figure out what topic to talk about today, because I haven't been feeling all that great myself recently. Like, being back in LA is just reminding me of all the reasons why I wanted to get away from it for a bit and have my Colorado vacation, even though it wasn't even a full vacation because I ended up having to work from home from my parents' place for a bit. So yeah, that wasn't amazing, but for the most part, I needed that break from LA, and now that I'm back, I'm remembering exactly why I wanted to get away. So I just haven't been feeling that great, because at this point I really don't feel like I have a future here, and it's difficult for me to continue operating here because I know my whole goal is to get the hell away from it all, to just leave. So while I'm still here, I just don't feel like I belong, and that does affect me. I'd be lying if I said it didn't, so it certainly does. But even with it, I can find ways to just strive to be content in the moment, to just experience things. Like, a few days ago, I actually went to the ocean around sunset, and I just sat there watching the ocean, watching the sunset, watching the birds diving into the water, watching dolphins come up and play, and it was really fun. It was enjoyable. I was just sitting there, not even thinking anything really, just watching what was happening before me, watching the beauty of nature. And there were a lot of people around there. Like, I don't know if any of you are from the South Bay area in California, probably not, but there's an area called the Esplanade where you can overlook the ocean. That's where I was sitting. So there were quite a lot of people. There were people walking behind me because I was just sitting on it's kind of like a little mini wall, basically. And from there I was watching the ocean, but there's like a walkway behind me. So people were going by the entire time I was there, but I was just chilling. Like, I wasn't thinking about them or letting any of them distract me. I was just watching the beauty unfold in front of me. So even when you're not feeling that great, you can do this. You can just be present in the moment and kind of allow yourself to experience everything that is part of being human, feeling your emotions, but then also taking in the beauty before you, being content to just exist. It's a superpower that more of us need to practice, because we just need to stop trying to feel good all the time, and stop telling ourselves that those bad emotions we shouldn't even label them as bad, really. They're just emotions. They're normal. We just need to give ourselves permission to feel that way from time to time and not act on it, not try to escape it. maybe go somewhere beautiful and just sit in that beauty for a while you feel those emotions. Because when I went to the ocean to just take in everything, I wasn't feeling good. That was on Monday. I wasn't feeling good that night. That's why I went to the ocean, to just observe it all, because I knew it would help. And it did. But even when I was sitting there, like the first 5 or 10 minutes of me chilling, I wasn't feeling great. In fact, I was really hoping nobody would talk to me, and thankfully nobody did. People in the cities aren't usually that friendly to just randomly talk to someone who's sitting there like I was. But I was hoping nobody would, because I knew I wasn't in a good place. But maybe 20 to 30 minutes of me doing that, I started feeling way better, because I was just letting those emotions move through me and just observing the beauty out in front of me. I was basically just existing for a moment, just being. And it made me feel a whole lot better. So this is something all of you should practice as well. But anyway, this video is getting way too long, so I'm going to end it here. I hope you enjoyed this topic, and if you like content like this, be sure to subscribe for more. Otherwise, the easiest way you can help me out is just to throw a like and a comment for the algorithm, and I will see you guys in the next video. Arrivederci!